Welcome to the Jonathan Ross Show. Let's take a look at who's in my green room tonight. My first guest is someone who inexplicably has become not only one of the best-loved faces on British TV, but is also one of the country's most successful children's authors of all time. With over 20 million book sales to his name, it is, of course, David Walliams, OBE. Hello, David. How are you? How lovely to have you back. Alongside David is a double Oscar-winning actor who starred in so many amazing movies. Many of your favourites, I'm sure, including Bugsy Malone, Taxi Driver and, of course, Silence of the Lambs. She's now proving she's just as talented behind the camera as a director. It is the fabulous Jodie Foster. Hello, Jodie. Good evening to you, and thank you for coming. My next guest is one of the country's most popular stand-up comedians. It is Roisin Conaty. Hey, Roisin. I love Roisin Conaty, and I don't care who knows it. Plus, we have, and I am super excited about this, we have genuine icons of both music and style in the building. One of the greatest bands to come out of the New York punk scene. It is the legendary Blondie. We've got Debbie, of course, and Debbie and Chris will be chatting to me, and Blondie will be performing later on at the end of the show. So thank you for joining us after another 2-hour X Factor extravaganza. I love it, but man, that's too long, isn't it? I mean, it's so long now that by the end of last week's show, one of the boy bands had moved up into the overs category. It's so long, even Simon Cowell threw himself down the stairs just to avoid having to sit through any more of it. Well, thank you. But joking aside, David, you spoke to him, I guess. Is Simon OK? What happened? Do you know what happened?
I don't know exactly. I think the lesson to learn is don't go down flights of stairs in high heels, because you can trip over.
Now, I don't know how many of you have been to one of those brilliant Sea Life centres where, as a parent, you spend most of your visit telling your kids not to bang on the glass and frighten the fish. I don't know if you've done it. You go, no, have a look at it, but don't bang on the glass, don't be bad. Well, it's not just the kids who need to be warned. Take a look at this. I think he got what he deserved. I don't think so. The truth is, that shark at the Washington, D.C. virtual aquarium was actually computer-generated, and so they have it set so that if you bang on the window, it does that. So the shark isn't real, but I think that guy's laundry bill will be. Let's get my first guest out, shall we? He's not only a gifted actor and a brilliant comedian, he's also turned out to be a tremendously talented children's author, which has made him even more unbearable than he was before. It is the lovely David Walliams, OBE. It's always a joy. It's always a joy to have you on the show, David.
Thank you.
Can I start by saying, am I mistaken, or are you wearing lipstick this evening? Hold on, can we get in a close shot? Can you see that, what I'm seeing? Is that you're wearing lipstick? That's lipstick you're wearing. No, I'm not judging, it's a lovely look.
I have got very, very pink lips, and I noticed they were slightly dry before I came out. And I asked for some lip balm. OK. So it's just lip balm.
And what...
Do you dye your hair?
No. I don't. I'm glad you raised this. It drives me crazy.
It's a lot darker than it was.
No, it's not. It's not. This is... Have a good look. Have a tug. Do what you want.
Have a tug? Really, is it?
OK. Sorry, it was the lipstick excited me. OK, hey, congratulations to David Walliams, ladies and gentlemen. He received an OBE just last week. There he is. That's a lovely thing.
Oh, don't mention it. Please, you're embarrassing me.
And that's a lovely thing. Now, and who did you take along? You're allowed to take a few people along. Who did you share that experience with?
I took my mother, and I took my 2 nephews, Eddie and Frankie, who are 11 and 6.
And did they... Now, they're quite young to be going to the palace.
They found it quite boring. Well, because it's like a... You got one. Yeah. I mean, a long time ago now, but you got one. And it's like a prize-giving day, isn't it, basically? Yeah. And no one else can hear the conversations going on. Who gave you your OBE?
I was given mine by Prince Charles.
Right, OK.
Who did you get?
Princess Anne.
Oh, that's Division 2.
That is why you're not going to get a higher honour. I mean, there are lots of reasons why you're not going to, but I think that kind of comment...
I'm amazed I've still got mine.
Ah, well... Yeah, so it was great. And it was a really nice day out, but it's quite... You know, they had to sit there for about 3 hours. And
it's a long day. It's a long day. And so did you go somewhere special afterwards? You went for lunch or you went
I went for lunch and I invited you, but you couldn't come.
Well, I could have come. I just didn't want to, but did you...
Well, I actually invited Simon Cowell and he said to me, do you think I want to go and celebrate with you? Or you get an honour. I was actually really angry and I went, well, you might. He was like, do you think I'd be pleased for you? Because he's very competitive.
That's a strange
and
thing.
he thinks he should get a knighthood.
And do you think there's a chance of that happening?
No, sir. No, sir. Not if I have anything to do with it, no. I don't know. I mean, maybe one day. I mean, who knows how they make these decisions?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you got one. But, but I don't know. I mean, you know, I suppose if enough people thought you should get one, maybe. I don't know.
We could start
but it would be annoying if he was Sir Simon Cowell, because the thing, OB is nice, but if someone's a Sir or a Dame, you have to call them that.
Yes.
So it's a bit like it's heralding their arrival. Sir Simon Cowell.
Yeah.
So I hope and pray that he never gets.
Yeah. So you mentioned your mum, and you had a holiday with your mum recently?
Yes, well, I took... Well, she's had a couple of holidays. We went to Dubai, and we also went to Bologna. And there's my mum and me in the sea together.
Are you still... So you can't swim? You're riding on her back? Is that it? I mean, you're quite old to still need to hold on to your mum in the swimming pool. I mean, it's very sweet. You don't still breastfeed, do you? I mean, you moved on from that.
Jonathan, I stopped breastfeeding 3 or 4 years ago. I actually found that very distasteful. No, we went to Bologna, which is in Italy.
I believe so. I've never been there.
Yeah, and there are 7 churches in Bologna. We went to every single one.
Wow.
And then just on the way to the airport, I said, Mum, can we just stop off at the Ferrari Museum?
A little something for you?
Yeah.
For being a good son?
She made such a fuss about it.
Well, how far away is this place?
Well, what's it going to be? Just cars? And I was like, we went to 7 churches! But it's nice to be able to spend time with your mum, isn't it?
Yes.
And so, yeah, I'm very close to my mum. A boy's best friend is his mother. Who said that? Norman Bates. I do, but it's true. It's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Because, you know, at the end of the day, and we're talking about the OBE, the person whose approval you want most is your parents. And you know, my dad died about 10 years ago, and so, you know, everything I do, in some way, I'm just hoping that my mum will like it.
Well, your mum, I mean, you are very close to your mum, and I know this. You always take her to things, you always make the effort with her, so it's a genuine... I'm sure she must be, I would have thought, grateful that you still have that connection with her and you still care that much about her.
Yeah. Yeah. I always think my mum is prouder than anyone else, than me of my achievements. And the funny thing was, when I had the letter about the OBE, I sort of didn't tell her, because I thought if I tell her on the phone, then it sort of, you know, it sort of spoils it. So I just showed her the letter. So she went, oh, Mum, have a read of this. She went,
oh, that's a nice thing.
She went, oh. 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 I said, Mum, are you all right? And it went on for about 2 minutes, because she couldn't actually speak.
Wow, so she was that surprised that they were giving you an
not
OBE?
surprised. Excited.
Oh, I see, sorry.
Excited.
Sorry. We can understand why I got to that conclusion.
She was that surprised when she was told you still got your OBE. That was a real shock to her.
OK. David Walliams has a new book out, ladies and gentlemen, and you know it's going to be on every kind of kid's wish list because you are super popular and super good at this. The new book is called Bad Dad, from David Walliams. It's out now. I've browsed it already. How many books now have you finished? How many kids' books have you got out?
Well, I've slightly lost count. I think it's 17 or 18.
Wow. That's amazing. That's pretty good that you've lost count.
Well, Michael Morpurgo has written over 200, so he genuinely has lost count. But I've written 10 novels. I've been writing children's books for 10 years.
But some of his are very slender, whereas yours, most of yours, are considerable. Look at the heft on that, ladies and gentlemen.
But I write the books just for the pleasure of children reading. I think it's important just to encourage them.
It's an accident. It's so heavy. It's
You're getting too old to present this show. You can't even put the books back.
I know, and when I dropped it, I did a little wee as well. I mean, that's the kind of it. It was the shock of it. It just came out. I can't go on a trampoline.
Anyway, back to me.
I'm sorry.
What was I saying?
What's it about?
Yeah, so we've been writing children's books for 10 years.
10 years, amazing, but huge success. And I know when you wrote the first one, I mean, it wasn't like this was a planned side to your career that you wanted to go and become a children's author. So you just wanted to tell that story, didn't you?
I just had a story about a boy going to school dressed as a girl. I thought it would be interesting. I thought it would be challenging for... Oh, yeah. Have a good laugh, love. That's my life. It was a good... it's meant to be a heartwarming story about what it is to be different. I think you need a copy, dear. And anyway, I never thought I would keep writing them. Yeah. And the success of it has taken me by surprise. But now every celebrity in Britain has a book out.
Well, I noticed that your books don't feel preachy, but often there is a message of some sort.
I think there has to be a message of some sort in there because you're taking people on a journey. So by the end of it, you've got to be in a different place than you were at the beginning. And this is about a father who does a bad thing. He helps... he basically is a getaway driver for a bank robbery. If you'd have read it, you'd know that
I haven't read it, but it's not... I'm not his target audience, David.
No, but you are hosting a show where you have guests on and you're meant to have read their books.
Well...
Don't start now! It's too late! We're going to be here all night.
It's all right. There's a lot of pictures here and I'll have finished by the adverts. I'm looking for the dedication, because I know there's a... Oh, here it is. There's a lovely dedication. This is from David, and the book's dedicated for the love of my life, Alfred, with love, Papa. That's your son, of course. That's a lovely thing.
It is, yeah. Well, that's the wonderful thing about... One of the things about writing books is you get to dedicate them to people. And choose your favourite people.
And have you forced him to read your books yet? I mean, does he...
When I try and read him my books, he goes, no, no, no.
Does he really?
Yeah, he goes, no, no, no. I mean, I don't read him those books, because I've done some picture books as well for younger kids. He just goes, no, no, no. So I just go, OK, fine. So we read something else.
Let's talk about another side of your career, because you have helped ensure the popularity of Britain's Got Talent.
Well, that's kind of you to
You
say.
Absolutely have, there's no doubt about it. And you're doing a new series. I guess you start next year?
Yes, we start as soon as Simon's back from being on a boat with Sunita and all his exes. I once said to him, I said, did you have a good holiday? He went, oh. I said, well, you were on holiday with all your ex-girlfriends and your new partner. Yeah, oh, nightmare. Why did you invite them? I mean, this doesn't go down that well, does it? Oh, by the way, who else is coming? I thought I'd invite all these other women I slept with in the last 10 years. I mean, this is not a good idea, is it, for a holiday?
But you're obviously fond of him. Didn't you get your mother to bake him a cake? Is that what
Yes, well, he said... I was talking to my mum and she was coming to the show the next day and he said, get your mum to bake me a Victoria sponge cake. And then she brought it in and he tasted it and went, bit dry. My mum was really quite crushed, but he couldn't help just actually, judging it. He couldn't help being negative about it. I mean, he's actually the same in bed. A bit too much foreplay for my liking. But yeah, that's all he can do, isn't it? I mean, he just can judge. So if he's presented with a cake, a homemade cake by my mum, he can't help but judge it.
Or he could try being a human being and say, thank you, that was lovely. What a lot of effort you put into this.
Well, he's not, as you well know, he's not a human being.
David, it's always great to have you here. Congratulations on your success, which is so well deserved.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in saying thank you to a national treasure for gifting the finish. David Walliams, over here. Thank you. Around, David. Thank you. OK, still to come, the amazing Jodie Foster will be out here, Washington Connerty, and we've got Blondie, so don't go away. Thank you and welcome back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get my next guest right out here. On screen, she has an amazing presence, from her early work in Bugsy Malone and Taxi Driver to her defining role as Clarice Starling in Silence of the Lambs. She's now winning praise for her work behind the camera as a director, so it is a real pleasure to welcome Jodie Foster. Jodie, hello. Let's hug it out. We're doing so good. Jodie, it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
David, I know you're a big film fan. You love Jodie's work, I'm sure.
Yes, and I was very, very starstruck because I met her before on Chris Evans' breakfast show.
Oh, yeah.
We did.
What a broadcaster. I was really, really starstruck. I mean, how can you not be? Because
you know,
iconic person.
Well, we'll give her a chance to speak then.
But this is the thing, I do these shows with, you know, a bunch of British people together, and they all have this, like... There's like a whole thing you guys do.
I can go off people, you know, when they do that.
But if I was surrounded by a bunch of Americans, I'm sure we could talk like Joe Pesci.
Hey, I have, I won't give you this, I mean, you can have it if you want, but I know I would... No, I'm saying I would give it to you.
Yeah.
But I know that your children are pretty grown up now. They're too old for this, I would have thought.
Yeah, they'd be really mad at me if I gave them that.
How old are your boys?
19 and 16.
Wow.
But, you know, you hit 25 and then they want to read it again.
Oh, OK. Yeah. Or they might have kids and then you can palm it off on the grandchildren.
Oh, look, there's a picture.
OK. Well, fine-looking young men, handsome young men there. And do they watch your movies? I guess they couldn't see some of them early on, but...
Early on, they couldn't watch them and they're completely uninterested. Yeah, they have no interest in watching my movies. Now things have changed a little bit. Now they're a little more into it.
The reason why I was asking you about what kind of parent you are, of course, that ties into the episode of Black Mirror, which you have just directed. Now, I don't know how many Black Mirror fans we have. It wasn't Channel 4, it's now on Netflix. Yes. Just an amazing accomplishment. Your episode is to do with the nature of the parent-child relationship, of course.
Yes. Well, every Black Mirror is different, as you know, all around the theme of technology, but each one of them is a standalone feature.
But it's got a lot to do with parents and their involvement in their children's lives and their fears for what might happen to their children.
Yeah, well, fear is everything, as we know. I mean, that's the whole television show. But I do think that, you know, I was raised by a single mom, and she was amazing, and we had a really complicated and deep relationship, and but it was also a struggle. And so this film kind of reflects that, from the birth of the child all the way to when when she has to say goodbye.
Let's have a look at the clip. This is Black Mirror. It's one of my favourite TV shows, and this is a great episode. Have a look at this.
Ooh, yeah. Response so far is just incredible. The sense of security, peace of mind. I mean, the stories we've been hearing, they are truly inspirational. Can you see the screen?
I'm gonna eat it.
Okay, then. There you go. You like cartoons?
Yeah.
Yeah? Shimmer and Shine?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then you watch that, and I won't be a moment, okay?
Wish for the doubling gem that Samira sent you to find. That would be cheating. So wrong. You're right. I guess it wouldn't be very fair. And it wouldn't be as much fun as trying to find a gem on our own. Guys, here they are.
There you go. That got a reaction there immediately for that. And then also, it's a tremendous performance you get from that young actress in it. How old is this young girl in this?
Well, there's 3 children that actually, there's 4 little girls. The one of them was, you know, had a lot of energy, and it was tough going. It was tough going.
So
I would say, can you just sit there and can you say, hello, Mom? And she'd go, what if I do this? Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
But of course, you were acting at that age yourself, weren't you? What was your first, what's the first role you remember as a child when you were working as an actor? What's the first one?
I think my first commercial was a Coppertone ad.
That's like a sun cream, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how old were you then?
I think I was 3, yeah. I was about 3.
Wow. And so, and it's an interesting thing, because to have worked in the business for that long, you must have a fairly unique perspective of it.
Yeah, I'm bored. No, I love movies, but 52 years in the film business is a long time.
Well, that's amazing. It's amazing. That's an amazing career. And still alive, ladies and gentlemen.
Still alive, still kicking.
But is that one of the reasons why you stepped away from acting somewhat? I know you are still acting, but you've...
You know, I get burned out, and it's a long time to do one thing. And I do think that directing has become an evolution from the acting. It was the best film school in the world. You know, worked with amazing directors, and you know, Spike Lee, Martin Scorsese, and Alan Parker. I mean, just really amazing directors. So
working with Scorsese, and you were what, 14 when you did
12?
12.
Yeah, 12. Oh, actually, Alice doesn't live here anymore when I was 10. So
wow. So working with Scorsese there, I mean, did you learn from him even at that age? Were you looking at how he directed, or was it more just getting through the experience?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think what I learned from him is the enthusiasm. I mean, he was always, you know, behind the camera, laughing and laughing and laughing, and telling you to do it again. And you know, you could tell how much he loved films. Robert De Niro, on the other hand, was Robert De Niro. So.
Well, De Niro is a unique and strange man.
Yes, he is. He does not have a lot to say.
No.
Yeah. He's kind of an empty book. That's what makes him a wonderful. It's what makes him a wonderful actor.
He is. Yeah. I've met him briefly.
I'm sure you've interviewed him.
Well, it's hard to get an answer out of him.
Yeah, you don't get much, do you? Yeah,
There's
I know.
a story. He was one of the producers of the Queen musical, We Will Rock You. and he was at a press conference with the members of Queen. They said, "Oh, Mr. Dean, do you have a favourite Queen song?" "No." Did you just say Bohemian Rhapsody or Radio Gaga and make it up?
But you know what? It's memorable. I bet that was a memorable interview. And you see their interview with me, you don't remember.
Well, no, I did remember.
I don't
interviewing
remember.
you. Oh, wow.
I mean...
It was a long time ago. Well, here's what I want to ask you about that interview. I interviewed Jodie in 1991, a long time ago.
Oh, look at it.
Wow, look at
your
the two
hair.
of us. So, I asked you at the time, I think Silence of the Lambs had just come out. And it was obviously a hit already, but you went on to an Academy Award and the film did amazingly well. And I asked you at the time, I said, well, if they make a sequel, would you care to be involved? And you said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then when they made a sequel, and they presumably asked you, you said...
I wasn't available. Yeah, I wasn't available.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You just weren't available?
Nope.
Wow, she's like talking to De Niro. Well, we're going to show a clip of that now, if you don't mind, because I love this film. Don't you love Silence of the Lambs? We watch it every Christmas. It's like a family Christmas movie for us. So it's an amazing moment for me.
I crept up into the barn. I was so scared to look inside, but I had to.
What did you see, Clarice? What did you see?
Lambs. They were screaming.
They were slaughtering the spring lambs?
They were screaming.
And you ran away?
No. First, I tried to free them. I opened the gate to their pen, but they wouldn't run. They just stood there, confused. They wouldn't run.
But you could, and you did, didn't you?
Yes. I took one lamb and I ran away as fast as I could.
Where were you going, Clarice?
I don't know. I didn't have any food, any water, and it was very cold. It was very cold. I thought if I could save just one, but he was so heavy.
Yeah. Wow.
It was so long ago that I had David's lip color on. That's how long ago it was.
You know, even here, taken out of context like that has a power.
The atmosphere is dread about the scene, isn't it? It's so...
I guess.
It affects you on such a deep level.
Can you remember, did you do that one take? Did you do several takes? And how did you prepare for a scene like that?
Actually, the funny thing is you know, that that last part where somebody's phone rang. It was the beginning of cell phones, and people hadn't really figured out, like, oh, I have to turn them off when I come to set, and somebody's cell phone rang during that whole end of that take, and they had to figure out how to cut it out. But you know, you're an actor, you don't really have a choice. So you have to do that thing while the phone is going, wee, wee, wee.
So you carried on through the phone?
Well, yeah, that's why we get the big bucks.
Yeah. Let's hope it was an important call. But let's talk about the films you made before that.
Sure.
You worked for Disney for a while.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I've always wanted to ask you, and I've read this, I know it's entirely true, is you made a film called Napoleon and Samantha.
Yes.
This was in 1972, I believe.
Okay.
And you were co-starring, or certainly one of the performers in it, was a lion.
Yes.
And the lion got quite friendly with you.
Yeah. I was the end of a scene, the end of a take. The lion was kind of they were trying to get him to do stuff, and he was being pulled by a little wire, like a tiny little thin wire that you couldn't see. And I was in front of him, and he came around me. I remember seeing his mane. He came around me, and he picked me up by the hip and turned me around and shook me around. And I was sideways, and I remember thinking, oh, this is an earthquake. And then I just kept seeing people fleeing.
So they were running away?
They were running away from me.
They weren't running to help?
No, they were running away, and they were taking their equipment with them. And then I guess what I was told is that somebody yelled, drop it. The trainer yelled, drop it, and the lion was, you know, acquiesced and went, they dropped me.
Wow.
I went running down, I went falling down a hill, kind of as like a little ravine, and then the lion came up from behind me and then smacked me on the side of my leg and stood there with one paw on me. Like, kind of like, I got this bird, you know.
So like you were a little mouse the cat was playing with?
Yeah, I don't know if he was really... Yes, he was playing, because if he'd really wanted to kill me, that would have been
You would
easy.
not be here today.
I would not be here today.
I'd be forced to interview De Niro.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, that is true. That's what happens.
But that's an amazing anecdote to have, that you were picked up and shook by a lion.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like it's a telling moment in my narrative, is that, you know, I sort of dusted myself off and came out of the hospital, and then went and worked with the lion again.
Came back. You carried on working with that lion?
Yeah. I worked with that lion. One day I had a rooster, because I worked with the rooster as well, and the rooster was squawking and doing something, and I saw the lion just like look at me and look at the rooster in that way, and I threw the rooster and ran.
So you'd learned from the film crew how to behave,
yeah.
You know, you mentioned your mum earlier. She was obviously a big, raising you as a single parent, but obviously a big factor in your career as well. She would have got you into the business, I guess. Did she help choose those early roles, or did you have a joint share in that decision?
I think it was pretty much all her. I think at, you know, 5 years old or 6 years old, it was definitely her. And as time went on, I think I learned a little bit more who I was as an actor. But yeah, and when we talk about my Black Mirror episode that I just directed, it is very much about a mother-daughter relationship, and that kind of beautiful and troubling symbiotic bond between the two. And, you know, I feel like that has a lot of personal relevance to my own life.
And your mum's still alive, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
And are you still close?
We're very close. She's not really with us in the mind, but she has dementia, but I think she is very content in her life. She watches a lot of movies, and she eats a lot of food. So those are two things that she always loved.
Well, they're two of my life goals.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, she's comfortable. And
yes.
Does she know you? Does she recognise you still, though? Does she know you're still there?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. And that's hard and also really beautiful, I think, to be able to know that at the end of your parents' life that you're there for them and you're the last face that they will ever see. I mean, it's a gift, you know. They gave you this tremendous gift, and you get to give that back to them over the course of their life, and that's, you know, I think it's a wonderful thing too. It's painful, but it's wonderful.
That's a lovely way of looking at it. That's a really beautiful way. So I need to ask you, though, you haven't given up acting entirely.
Well, not yet.
Well, here, you're one of those faces I know. I know if you're in a movie, I'm going to enjoy at least that part of it.
Well, that's nice. Well, that's why I work so little, because it's hard to find things that move you. I'm really excited about acting in my 70s. I think there's some crack-ass roles for women in their 70s, and I'm going to have all the wrinkles and stuff, so I'm going to get all of them. And, yeah, I'm going to be like, you know, the junkie grandma next door. That's going to be me.
I'm signing up for that one right now. But you mentioned, you know, roles for women in movies. Of course, at the moment, the topic of gender in Hollywood, of men and women in Hollywood, couldn't be more out there, especially with all this Weinstein stuff going on.
Right.
Did you encounter any of that kind of behaviour?
I don't think, I mean, you got a lot of women in this audience. I think it would be very difficult to find any woman in this audience that hasn't had some brush with, you know, with inappropriate sexual stuff happening in the workplace. It happens in every industry, and whether it's the Supreme Court in the United States or the presidency or, you know, the guy next door, men, women, old, you know, young, it is everywhere. And this is a moment of consciousness in the world, and I think that's a watershed moment that we should all pay attention to, that there are places and there are people that you can talk to. And watching these, listening to these amazing narratives by really smart, interesting, accomplished women, not just talking about some, you know, pig in a bathrobe, but really talking about what it is to be raised as a woman and how small brushes that you have with being demoralized and being put upon and debased in the workplace have such effect. And I think it's a great time for people to become conscious.
I guess I'm right in assuming you didn't vote for Trump?
Oh. What would make you think that?
You don't have to answer. So lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm looking forward to seeing you direct more, but I'm really looking forward to seeing you back on screen as an actor, because I love.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the lovely Jodie Foster. Thank you so much. Jodie and David are going to stick around. Of course, still to come, we've got Washeen Connerty and then Blondie. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. My next guest is always hilarious. Here she is. It's Washeen Connerty. shoes. They're those Simon Cowell shoes.
Sit down.
For a minute there, I feared you were going to do a Simon Cowell in those heels.
I know.
Hey, so here's the thing. So you're in 2 sitcoms at the moment.
I know.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
And panel shows.
I'm really out of breath. Yeah. I sound like a real pervert. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I am. 2 sitcoms. Yeah, really into it.
Really
Love
enjoying
comedy.
that moment, yeah. really getting into that success. But that must be pretty hard, isn't it? It's quite hard juggling that, or is it, did you do one a while ago? Or?
I filmed, well, yeah, it was quite a big year. So I filmed, I wrote Game Face, and I filmed Game Face in the spring.
Yeah.
And then during the edit of Game Face, I was filming Man Down with Greg. But I don't write Man Down, I'm just in Man Down. But it was still pretty, you know, good problems. I don't want to sound like my diamond shoes are too tight. It was nice.
Yeah. So, but Game Face must be, in some ways, more rewarding and more fun because, of course, you're so involved on every level.
Yeah, but Game Face is my baby, you know, it's taken a long time and, you know, you write it and then you're in it.
But it's always tempting, of course, when someone's writing it and they're casting themselves in it, it's always tempting to think that there are aspects of them, their real life, being sent on there. But this character, I think it would be OK to say she's a bit of a mess.
She's a bit of a mess, yeah.
And so, so what elements of that have come from your real-life existence?
What are you trying to say, Jonathan?
Well, I'm just inquiring as to whether or not how similar you might be to...
I think I think there's similarities thematically. Like, she's, you know, I think she's, you know, at that age where, you know, she's sort of held on to this career, she's going to be an actress and stuff like that, and things haven't... I'm quite interested in those points where you decide to change your life, whether you're going to stick at something to be hopeful or to be real, and I think that's something I always have to deal with.
Because you studied acting...
Oh, I did theatre. I did theatre studies A-level, not performing arts. But I think secretly I really wanted to perform, but I sort of had a disdain for people who wanted to perform. So it was a real... no offence, guys.
You know, I think most people understand it, because, Jodie, you went back to university, didn't you? You went back to Yale.
Yes.
And was that a similar thing? Were you thinking maybe acting is a silly profession?
I think I thought that my entire life. I just thought it was a dumb job, and I was just saying other people's lines other people wrote, and I thought... you know, I can't do this. This isn't a grown-up job. And then I realized when I got older, I think I realized that it was me that was not bringing enough to the party. I think I was not committing enough to what being an actor is.
And David, what are you going to do with your life? I mean, what... Because eventually you're going to have to choose something from the various things you're dabbling in right now.
I think I'm going to become a chat show host.
I suspect you'll make a very good one. Let me show you a clip from Game Face. Let's have a look at this.
So, gentlemen, we're going to go for wide because we're running a little bit behind on time, so just stay with me, OK? Thanks, guys. These fucking hiccups. Every single day. Hiccups. What are we going to do?
Can we go with the hiccups?
No, of course we can't go with the hiccups. It's ruining everything.
I can't cure hiccups.
I understand you can't cure it, but I need some kind of support.
Sarah, you've got a massive spider in your cleavage.
What? No! Help!
It's gone.
What?
It's gone.
It's inside me!
No.
Oh, my God, it's inside me! It's inside me! I can feel it in my vagina! I can feel it in my vagina!
You're seeing Connor's Game Face, last episode Thursday on E4, but you can watch the rest on catch-up, I guess.
Can indeed.
You doing another series? Is that penciled in yet, do you know?
Oh, no idea. We'll see what they say.
Okay. She's, most of the time, the character you're playing that she's either drunk or recovering from being drunk. But you're leading quite a healthy life at the moment.
Yeah, I tried to go swimming quite a bit. OK, when I was a kid, I went water skiing with my school, and when they dragged you in from the beach, I had 2 skis on. So you go in, and I'm on the skis. 2 things happen. Number one of the skis comes off. The second thing, I lose my voice completely. So I'm like this, trying to tell everyone I've got 1 ski. Go around this, it was terrifying.
Hold it, you managed to stay up on the one ski?
All the kids are like this, yes! And I'm like, ugh! But silently, like that. It's horrendous. So ever since then, whenever I get into any water, like on holiday, sea or swimming pool, I have to make a lot of noise. So
Interesting.
So I have to be like, eh, to make sure that I don't lose my voice. So I have to make sure if it's really cold, I'm like, and I can do it a little bit quieter than that. I can be like, but it has to be like, to make sure that I don't lose my voice. Also, I bleach my hair, so on a holiday sometimes I've had a plastic bag on my head and getting into a pool like this. But I went to Hampstead Ponds recently, and it's the women-only ponds, and my friend said to me, you know that noise you do, don't do that here, because it's sort of, you know, it's proper, like, they won't like it. And I was like, OK, but it's my noise, I don't know how to get in cold water. She went, honestly, don't do it. I was like, OK. So I was getting in the water, because I'm not doing my noise, I'm sort of panicking a bit, like, trying to make sure.
Well, the noise would have been, at least you could have got it out of your system.
Yeah, I would have known that I was OK, that my voice wasn't going, and it's, you know. So I was sort of going like, I'm swimming away, and then the lady's like, excuse me, and there's loads of people, it's like the height of summer, there's like all these people stood, you know, waiting to get in the pond, and the lady's like, excuse me, I need to see you swimming. I was like, I'm swimming. And she's like, no, it's doggy paddling, and I was like, no, I'm swimming. So I go to swim off, and she's like, oi! And I turned around, and she was like, I need to see you do the breaststroke. So then she basically gives me, like, a swimming exam in front of the whole of Hampstead. It was the most stress I've had, and also, I'm rubbish at swimming, it turns out. I always thought I was really good. And then she was like, no, you need to stay near the edge. No. And I told her about my voice. I was like, literally like this, like, thing is, when I was 7, I lost my voice. So what happened was, and she was like, sorry, I'm watching a pond full of people here. I haven't got time for this story.
But I've never, ever encountered this before. Have you encountered a fellow sufferer of the whole voice loss in water?
The lady did know. The lifeguard, she said it's like an asthma thing. She went, if your voice goes, it's an asthma thing.
So the cold... And then...
Yeah, so she's like, it is a real thing, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, that's my... If you ever see me swimming, you know what's happening.
You never had such problems swimming the channel?
Shrinkage was the problem. Very severe shrinkage, because the water's very cold, about 14 or 15 degrees.
But that's a terrible thing, because there wasn't much to start with.
Wait, were you...
What sport do you enjoy, Joe?
I'm a skier. I'm a good skier. And I like football, I like American football, too.
Oh, yeah, no, you play Fantasy Football League, don't you?
I do play fantasy football.
That's a weird
I did not
thing
play
to
it this year because there were so many alerts on my phone because of our president administration that I couldn't handle all the two emergencies, you know, because I'd be like, you know, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers broke his arm. Oh my God, President Trump's an asshole. Like, it was just, I couldn't handle.
How do you juggle? You can't equate this.
I couldn't handle all the alerts.
Okay. You know, speaking of America a little bit there, your show, has it been picked up from America yet, do you know?
Yeah, Hulu bought it.
Wow, so it's going to be shown out there?
Yeah.
And do you know, I mean, because sometimes there is a problem, as Jodie was saying earlier, with them understanding us, especially something which is very much in the kind of British idiom as your show is.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried people won't understand me. I was in a meeting in LA with quite a senior person at a comedy channel, and I was just speaking, and he kept going to his assistant while I was there. What's she saying? While I was sitting at the table. And then I just got a fit of the giggles, and then the meeting was just ruined. And then his assistant laughed, but he just couldn't. It was literally, but he also thought I was deaf. It was, what's she saying? What's going on? What's she saying?
Isn't it weird? I always find it weird is that you'll say a word in our version of English, which is, of course, the original version, and if they don't understand it, sometimes Americans, and please forgive me here, but they don't understand it, they won't make the effort to try and equate it with a similar-sounding word. So I would say water I found to be the case. I was on a plane once, I said, can I have some water? And the one went, wah-wah. I went, no, some water, fizzy water. And I'm not making it up, she went, fuzzy wah-wah.
You just said, yes, please. If you've got fuzzy wah-wah, I'm not turning it down. Sounds incredible. What is the one word you have to do in the accent?
Oh, so how do you say it?
Water.
Water.
I've been in LA, I was like, can I get water, please? Water. And you have to do it in the voice, otherwise you're just going to die of thirst.
Well, Sheen, it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you
the
for
show
having
has
me.
been great. I'm sure it will get a second series. As I said, if you haven't seen it, the last episode is on this Thursday on E4, but Man Down is on at the moment as well. So, man, you're busy. It's great to have you here. Well, Sheen Connaughton, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Still to come on the show, don't go away, because I will be chatting to Debbie Harry and Chris Stein from Blondie, and Blondie will be performing for us at the end of the show. See you after the break. Welcome back to the show. Let's get my next guest out. They're one of the most influential and iconic bands of all time. I'm sure you won't need this, but let's just quickly remind yourselves of how great they are. Blondie. Blondie, it's Debbie, Harry and Chris Stein. I'm just going to go like that. I don't want to knock your hat off. Hey, come on, guys. Do that. That looks amazing. Don't knock it off. How long? So you guys were together as a couple for how long, as a proper couple?
10 to 15 years, somewhere in there.
Something
I
like that,
lose
yeah.
track of the 5-year span towards the end, you know.
But it's really heartening to see, and it's unusual to see people who've had that sort of intense relationship, and then obviously you're back together for work, but you are still very close friends, aren't you?
Yeah, she's my buddy.
I hate him.
And you guys were together in a band before. Were the Stilettos? Were you in the Stilettos as well?
Yes.
And so the Stilettos led to Blondie. So how did you two meet?
I went to this
Yeah, he went to
show.
the
I
show.
went to the first Stilettos show. And the stage was a board on a pool table or something like that. Yeah.
Was it up that
I
high?
don't remember. It was primitive.
It was a low ceiling, that's why I bring that up.
So you weren't in the band, and then
No.
who got you? How did you get into the band then?
I was really taken with this one, and shortly thereafter, I became the first sort of steady musician. They had fluctuating musicians up to that time.
And that's when your relationship began, I guess. Is that when you became a couple?
Well, we sort of became friends and enamored of one another, and we sort of...
We hung around for a few months.
Yeah, and we had a good working relationship, and it, you know, sort of just grew naturally. We shared similar tastes and ideas, and, you know, then we were doing it.
And we've got some pictures, not of you doing it, but we've got some pictures. You're a very talented, very gifted, and very respected photographer.
I try.
That's one of Debbie, of course. So this was this in the apartment you had down near the...
This was a loft that we had, which was haunted.
Yeah.
Definitely haunted, filled with poltergeist activity, all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff like that. I don't necessarily subscribe to that ghost stuff, but definitely went on there.
I mean, when you say you don't subscribe to the fact you said it was definitely haunted, maybe you do subscribe to it.
Well, there you couldn't avoid it. I mean, you know, knocking in the walls and things falling down, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, well,
that was the same place.
That's a demonstration of my housekeeping.
Well, there you can see the poltergeist had been in that room and threw everything willy-nilly.
When were these taken, Chris or Deborah? Was it like 76 or 74?
That's like 75, maybe, 75,
So this is
76,
almost exactly the same time that Jodie was shooting...
Well, you know, I was thinking of that as she was speaking. Well, we missed it. You know, we see a lot of shoots in New York, but we were off in 77 when that was being shot in 66, 76 or 7.
It would have been, no, it would be 74. It'd be 74 and a half. It's almost 75.
Well, we were right in the same neighborhood there.
You know, let me ask you a bit about the start, because the look of Blondie, it was such a kind of bold, it was such a fun look as well, and it was so kind of... And it seems to me it's influenced a lot of people. I mean, I see the influence a lot of places. Do people, do they acknowledge that? Do they, I mean, because Madonna, obviously, I think, borrowed from you somewhat, and in movies, like in Suicide Squad, you have Harley Quinn, who seems to have lifted you directly, almost.
Well, that was very nice. They made a nice reference to us and said that, you know, they actually held up a picture. They showed that picture.
Yeah.
And
I
said
think we've
that,
got the picture, which looks just like...
They used that as a reference for her costume. So that was very sweet of them, I thought.
I mean, it's almost like the costume was designed by you.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys, let me talk about some of the people you worked with. I remember you toured with Iggy Pop at that period in his career when David Bowie was helping him get back where he should have been. So Bowie was playing keyboards on stage with Iggy Pop, and you guys were opening, which must have been a remarkable gig to go to. So presumably you were fairly close with both David and with Iggy.
You know, and they were mentors in a nice way and you know, a crazy way as well. So, I mean, they were, of course, genuine, you know, real rock and rollers, and but also, you know, showmen, you know, and knew, you know, they would just give us tips and stuff like that.
I've read this, I don't know if it's true, I read this, that during the course of that tour, at times when Chris wasn't immediately in the vicinity, both David and Iggy expressed an interest in getting to know you better.
Well, I am writing a book.
So we'll
But
have...
I can't imagine how you do 17 books in 10 years.
If you read one, you can see how. No, I'm joking. They are genuinely wonderful. They are really wonderful.
Amazing.
It's great to have you on the show. What track are you performing from the album tonight? This is the
Yes.
new, I've got the vinyl. This is the new Blondie album, Pollinator.
Long time.
Long time.
It's written by Devontae Hines.
So you're going to perform live for us in the studio, ladies and gentlemen. Cherish this moment, because you won't get this kind of moment very often. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to send them over to perform now, but will you join me in saying thank you to Chris Stein and Deborah Harry? Debbie and Chris, if you'd like to go over and join the rest of your band over there. It's going to be great. Just time for me to thank all my guests tonight. David Williams, the wonderful Jodie Foster, and of course, Roisin Connerty. Will you join me next week on the programme? Nadia Hussain will be here. The brilliant comedian Mickey Flanagan and Grace Jones will be on the couch. Plus, we'll have music from Stormzy. But now, with long time, here they are, the wonderful Blondie!
I've been running circles round a life that never ends. I've been chasing heartache in a city and a friend. Oh, I've been with you so long, even seen you lose it, but who cares? Racing down the Bowery on a crowded afternoon, and dripping from the downpour of your insecure typhoon. Can you even want me, or is this just a way to keep you sane? Take me and lose me, then tell them I'm yours. Are you happy? Does it take you a long time? Does it make you upset? Does it make you think everybody wants to be your friend? I can give you a heartbeat. I can give you a friend. I can make you think everybody wants to be a friend. Drinking by yourself but with a smile on your face. Happy in success but still 1,000 miles away. Is this what you wanted? Is this everything you had in store? Take me and lose me and tell them I'm yours. Are you happy? Are you happy? Does it take you a long time? Does it make you upset? Does it make you think everybody wants to be a friend?